All right, folks, today is Tuesday, November 14, 2023, and it's time for the $1 Million Portfolio Update. Before we start, though, let's toast. This is a Tamdu Scotch. It's batch strength. Comes in a really cool bottle, Art Deco style. And I'm drinking this today because I said that when we get back to 1 million, I'm going to celebrate, and this is it. Cheers. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the portfolio. So today we're up $30,000, a little over 3%, and the portfolio is sitting at 1,014,391, pretty much back to zero, and it took almost 2 years. Pretty ridiculous. When I started the portfolio and making it public, I had just a little over 1 million in it. At one point, I think it was December of 21, it hit 1,025,000. And after that, in 22 and most of 23, it's just been pretty brutal. I know I've been using that word, and I've never been happier to get back to zero. So this is a live look at the portfolio. There are some things that are still trading in the aftermarket, but this is it. If you're looking at this and you're thinking about the portfolio allocation, which I'll put up and remind everyone, it's 50% of large cap growth. I'm using NASDAQ 100, 25% long-term treasuries, TLT, 15% gold, and the rest in REITs or large cap value. But if you're looking at this, you're going to notice something really weird. And the weird thing is that I have almost no gold, and I have this TQQQ position that makes up quite a big chunk of the portfolio. Well, what had happened in the last video was that I mentioned that I had sold some cover call options on my gold position, and that it was likely to be called away because it hit the strike price, and that I would be refilling it once it gets called away. Well, the first part of that is true. It got called away, but man, October was just ridiculous in the market with everything going on. And I just felt like it was an overreaction to the news, to a bunch of other stuff that was going on, to the Israel-Hamas war, you name it. You know, the speakership debacle. I mean, all those things contributed, and October was just really painful for the portfolio. So I decided that instead of just buying back into gold like I intended, I was going to pick up this QQQ, triple Qs, TQQQ. What this is a pro-share leverage ETF. It's a 3x of the NASDAQ 100. So basically, it just means that when the NASDAQ is moving up by 1%, this is going to move up by 3%. If I change this from dollars to percentage, you'll see what I mean. So today, the NASDAQ was up 2.25%. So 3 times that would be 675, and it's up about 675. And that's what I decided to do because I was like, this is ridiculous. There's no way for it to go down this quickly, this fast. And I picked it up, and it's doing really well for me, as you can see. My intention is not to hold this long term, and the ETF itself is not designed to be held long term. You have time decay and all that. But in the short term here, I'm going to hang on to this for a while, and then when we come to our regular rebalancing in 24, I'm going to rebalance back to the allocation. Is this timing the market? Yeah, it is. And I know I shouldn't do it, but that's the gambler in me. Sorry to say, but there was some reasoning to it. It's just that it was so crazy having gone down so much that I just couldn't not do anything about it. In any case, being up 30,000 today, that was 3%. For the month, since the last update, this portfolio has been up 12% in 1 month. It's been ridiculous. There's this irrational like selling off on the downside, and then when things go back up, it's irrational on the other side. But I've decided that now that I'm in it, I'm going to let it ride, and I'll do the rebalancing once we get to 2024. Usually I do it in February. We'll let this ride and see where it takes us. But while it's back up to a million, cheers. So what's the good news aside from how the portfolio has done and me getting back to essentially zero? You can see here that, with my cost basis, it's still a little bit underwater, but basically zero. That's the good news. Just getting back to zero after whatever it is, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, it's 23 months, almost 2 full years. And if you look at the S&P 500 over this same time frame, it's also trading at roughly the level that it was trading at 2 years ago. So no news there. So that's all good news. The other good news is that I think with today's inflation report for October, knock on wood, it seems to be that it's under control. We need to see a couple more months of this, but there is strong optimism in the market that this is going to give reason to the Fed in December, in a couple of weeks, to just hold rates steady. It's their last meeting for the year, and that's what everybody's hoping. And I think it's going to happen, but until it does and they announce it, that it's going to be no change, no one really knows. But I think the percent likelihood that they're going to hold, increase rates is like almost zero. It's like 1% or something like that. So I think that's going to happen. So those are all good news. It's a really positive report, and if this holds for a couple of months, we're in really good shape. So what's the bad news? Well, the bad news is that if Congress cannot pass a spending bill or a CR or a stagger ladder CR like they're planning, by the end of the week, we will have another shutdown. So this party hinges on what Congress is going to do in the next couple of days for the rest of this week. That's bad news. Even if they pass their plan of a ladder CR, where there is some funds that are coming, will run out of funds in January, and then another tranche will be in February, they're going to have to fight this battle early in 24. So never, leave it to the politicians to ruin a good party. But that's what's really, worrying me. The other thing that could be bad is that valuations are, now with this run-up, valuations are a concern again. But I've learned my lesson from trying to stay in cash, time the market and all that. I'm going to let my current allocation ride. We'll do our rebalancing and call it a day. It's futile to fight the market. I'm going to take this small win and hope it continues. In any case, you're not going to see, talks about Photoshop, AI, and all this other stuff for a little bit as I really think about what I want to do long term here. But I'm going to take this small win while I can, and I thank you for checking in with me, following along, where the $1 million portfolio is now officially back to 1 million. So I'll drink to that. Cheers.